You.
I'm good. Just had trouble getting up.
I could feel you sleeping. I was like, I know Todd's napping. Good for you. A lot of
Yeah.
influx today to
Is
integrate.
there?
Feels like
Yeah.
it.
I
Hi,
hope.
Soulogy fam. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome.
They're still coming in. It's gonna take. It's gonna take a little bit. Oh, here they are. So yeah, we need to get an update on all the wild energy.
All things here. Let me share us around here.
Here, I can tag you.
Okay.
It's good to start off the week with you.
Aw, thanks, Todd. I feel like we haven't talked in like lots of time.
We talking December?
Maybe.
I don't remember anything.
Right? Linear time. What's that?
There is no linear time. It's a fact.
It's all collapsed.
So what's been going on? What's going on out there?
Very interesting. Super interesting. 2022 already. Dynamic, to say the least. Here, let me shut off Facebook now so I can not get pinged. Just focus on you.
No, don't focus on me.
Well, you, collective.
Oh, I see.
You.
There you go.
And you, Todd.
So what's happening now that you have this new aspect of your existence behind you, this cosmic field? I like it. Looks good.
It has been a very I've been in a really heavy Venus cycle of transformation myself. From the solstice in December, we had up here in New England, we had just days and days and days and days of just clouds, like gray clouds, which, you know, it's winter, but we usually get like breaks of sun, and it felt really unusual. And during part of that time, I've got this like hit. I was like, oh, it's like we're on, or I was reading about Venus because there was a Venus Sun conjunction that showed itself to me to be really important in early January 8th. But I was just reading about Venus and reading about how it's, you know, we don't know much about the surface of Venus because of the cloud cover, even though we've like flown by and visited. It was like clouds. And I was like, oh, we're kind of on Venus. I just got that, you know, when you get like hits of info that come through and it's like, oh, we're kind of playing on the Venus, like so clouded over. And that felt pretty like energetically accurate for me. And then I think it was like Sunday, maybe January 2nd, 3rd, maybe the Monday, the 3rd. We had this, like the clouds parted just at sunset. And we got all these like Venusian skies, these like orange, purple fireball, but it was just like at the horizon. And then I posted a bunch of pictures about it, and a bunch of my friends really from all over the country, all over the globe, like we all had these like Venus skies that night at sunset. And I was like, well, that's really cool. And then I was here at Interspace the next day, and usually at the end of the year, beginning of the year, I'll look to the astro alignments for the upcoming months in the year and just kind of get an overview of what's going on in the skies. And I was looking at that, and I had some cool, I can't show it to you now because I need to keep my computer plugged in for power, but I had this cool like connection thing to a piece of technology that I use here at Interspace. So I have an octagon hanging from my ceiling of like dowels, and I have these dyed silk pieces. So I have this octagonal rainbow grid that my treatment table goes in. And I've had that up since like 2012, 2013, when a friend of mine helped. And that's just like I use that to work with people's rainbow light body and work with the rays of the sun and it's part of the technology, the light body technology here at Interspace. And I was reading about the Venus cycle. So when any planet or any star goes near the sun, you know, we can't really see it anymore because it's lost in the gaze of the sun. And ancient astronomers would talk about that being like the descent into the underworld, right? Like, or like the star would disappear and then reappear. So a lot of us have been noticing in November and December, the planetary alignment that we could see in the night sky was Venus low, and then Saturn, and then Jupiter, And that was like pretty predominant if you looked out in the evening sky. And then Venus was like getting lower and lower in the sky until it kind of disappeared. And recently it reappeared as a morning star. Now you have to go out pre-dawn to see it in the twilight sky. But that, for ancient sky watchers and observers, that was like I want to say more magical thing. Like modern day, we kind of like know what's going on a little bit more. But a lot of the ancient temples and Mesoamerica and Egypt and Greece and Rome and in Northern Africa, like there's a lot of temples built to Venus. This Venus alignment was considered a really important, powerful passageway of like going into the underworld and ascending back into the light of day. Like Quetzalcoatl in Mexico, that's like, he's like, have you heard like the Dawn Star? And the Dawn Star is kind of like the Christ energy, like the risen sun kind of energy in the Aztec and Inca Mayan cultures. But I was reading about the Ishtar in Inanna. Inanna is more of a Sumerian goddess, and Ishtar is more in the Egyptian and Mediterranean zone.
Ishtar is associated with Venus, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I found this. I was reading about the star of Ishtar. Oh, I drew it, but it's in my other room. So it's this 8-pointed star. And so for myself, like, I was casting kind of forward of like, oh, what should be my community offering for my, my community here at Innerspace. And I really had this association that the rainbow body, the rainbow light body, and the rainbow rays were going to come online really actively with Venus. But I didn't really know why or what the connection was. But then I was reading about the star of Ishtar. So it's this 8-pointed star, and they talk about this 8-pointed star and the different cosmic rays of the rainbow light body. And then it like all kind of clicked together. I was like, oh, that's it. Like it's the octagon and the rainbow rays and da 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 da. And I got really excited, and I had this in my brain, in my like heart, this like, oh, I'm going to do this 8-day sharing, and I'm going to do all this Venus stuff, and it's going to be great. And then I went to bed. That was like Monday night, and I went to bed and woke up at like 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and I felt like my body was like,
when was this?
Felt weird. That was Monday the 4th, January 4th.
Okay.
And then that thing that's going around the globe that one might test positive for and get locked in their bedroom for a while. So I had that come through, and it was like as I realized that was happening for myself, I was like, oh, this is a Venus cycle. Like what are the chances of me getting to stay in my bedroom for a week and not like have to do chores or like take care of the kids or like whatever? And I was like, oh, I get this like Venus cycle. But I saw that it was like completely coded with, how do I say this well? Like the Venus cycle to me showed this like descent into the underworld. And I knew it was going to start around the 4th or 5th, because it starts like 4 days before the conjunction and then 4 days after. There's like an 8, Venus has a lot of 8 things because it has an 8-year kind of cycle. That you've seen that picture where it goes around.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the presence of the octahedron, like that Morgan's pulled down and quite a few other people. I wonder, because I actually picked this up myself.
Yeah.
But I saw some other people discuss it, and it's the relationship between Venus and Earth. Almost like Venus. Well, 2 things. The 2 main things that I saw really more through other people's stuff was Venus in like a higher self role with the Earth, and also Venus as the feminine energy, some type of relationship with the feminine energy in the Earth, something like that.
Do you remember last year? I think it was like last February or March when I came on with you. We talked about the dodecahedron and the octahedron and how that cosmographic, like there's like the platonic solids nested in between the different planetary orbits and planetary bodies. Between Earth and Venus is the octahedron. Like you can subscribe or describe, you can draw. Yeah.
So there's an octahedron between the Earth and Venus. And I guess with other planets, would there be a different platonic solid?
Between the Earth and Mars is the dodecahedron.
Okay, so the
Yeah, like in each
octahedron. So if people are pulling down the octahedron through their communion and transmissions and downloads, uh, that would seem to relate to Venus. And then, of course, if the overall, uh, dance of the frequencies, I guess you could say, on the Earth is about the feminine coming back up, and all of us are coming back on the Earth, then that would seem to it would seem like Venus has a big role, or in some way a big association with what's going on.
Venus has shown itself to be really powerful for sure. It's an interesting, like, I don't, if it's feminine or masculine,
Mm,
it's not as clear to me because I see both aspects of it. Like Venus has a lot of masculine aspects to me too, but it's a balance of masculine and feminine.
right,
And so one of the things we talked about a couple shows back in July, remember we talked about Venus and Mars conjunction. So we're
right.
also in a corridor of a triple conjunction between Venus and Mars. So that was July 12th, 13th. The next one coming is February, and then again in March 12th.
Okay,
So because of the because some planets are retrograding and they move kind of back, they dance along each other. But so Venus, of all the planets, most of them orbit counterclockwise. Venus has an opposite directional spin to it. So
okay.
Venus rotates clockwise. And when, to me, like that, like kicks off a Merkaba, planetary Merkaba activity, like that to the star tetrahedron of like one rotation spinning one way and one the other way, and the Venus Mars conjunctions. That's a big thing. And then when all this, do you remember back in March 2020, I was talking about, a lot of us were talking about the whole Venus in the Pleiades.
That was
That's the
when
squeeze. That's when everything started with the
COVID
squeeze.
started. That's when
I
COVID
know.
started.
So I feel like, and I can feel like we're bookending, and now like globally we're going to come out of it very soon. But I feel like Venus is kind of governing this cycle, the planetary cycle that we're in right now, for sure.
Well, I didn't know that happened in March of 2020. So
Yeah,
that speaks again to the feminine energy to me. I
yeah.
mean, I realize it's both, but it's almost like, to me, more like a Kuan Yin type energy. Like Kuan Yin is on the surface a feminine energy, but I think anyone that's ever had any real connection with Kuan Yin's consciousness, it's a balanced masculine and feminine energy that just happens to have the physical attributes of a feminine, right? That's what I get. The kind of
And
feel I get.
if we wax towards talking about ascended masters,
Mm.
and do you work ever with Sanat Kumara? Have you worked any with that?
No, no. I mean, I've had
Or like
multiple.
heard of that
Oh yeah, yeah,
logos
yeah,
or that consciousness? So, and then the Hathors
yeah.
are closely associated with Venus. Tesla, Nikola Tesla
Right,
is said to be like, some
from
people even said
Venus.
it was like from Venus.
Yeah.
So there's like also the tech collective or the Tesla collective and all that technology and the violet ray and the violet flame, like all that's very Venusian. And the Hathors are said to be, well, at least they hang out around. I don't think the Hathors are like from Venus per se, but beings that are from far, far away in the different galaxies and different parts of the multiverse. They kind of have way stations or places in the solar system where they're comfortable vibrationally to hang out. So I think the
Mm,
Hathor is like kind of one of their oasis or way stations in our solar system is Venus. So
mm.
Venus has a lot of, it's like heart to throat, like speaking, like it's like letting your heart come out through your mouth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it
Like
makes total
speaking.
sense. Which again, I mean, it kind of characterizes what's happening. I mean, there's a lot of people's throat chakras are opening, and particularly feminine, and the feminine side of masculine. You're seeing a lot of soft, powerful men like, Ryan Hill, who my friend, who's either saying very little or nothing at all. Like there's this new
Well,
spin
that's
on the traditional speaking, let's just say, roles that we've had.
interesting because for me too, like, so I saw this whole like course share thing that I was gonna unroll, and then kind of got sidelined from it. And then one of the mornings that I was in my Venus confinement, we'll call it, I woke up I was waking up at all kinds of hours, but I did write up one kind of blog post, one share about the Venus and the underworld and the Ishtar thing. And then seeing that 8-day cycle of like that. So the exact conjunction was January 8th or 9th, depending where you are on the globe. So that Saturday, Sunday last weekend. But the 4 days prior to that, and then the 4 days after that, Venus isn't so visible, right? Because it's like lost in the sun's glare. But I was even had this when I was feeling better and more up to like doing things. I was like, okay, now I'm going to write up this whole Star of Ishtar thing. And then I was like going to like write it out. And then the internet went out in my house, like all of our Verizon. I was like, okay, universe, I get it. I get it. I'm supposed to shut up and stay inward and not like share out or go out or talk. It's like, for me, it's just been like a very inward, like
Mm.
truly like underworld.
You
Like,
said that, and you said that this is the bookend, or like this period that we're in or approaching is the bookend to March of 2020. What's this bookend,
well,
or
I
why
don't
is?
know. I,
Or,
I just feel that for me, not
yeah,
so even so much astrologically,
well,
just
that's okay. I mean, even if it's your feeling or knowing or whatever, but
like
I
that
like,
whole thing that's going on across the globe. It's gonna like dissolve and not be such a
yeah,
hot button topic of it's like occupying everybody's consciousness or
right,
a lot of people's, right?
right.
And I like one of my mantras for people, I was like, it's going to go away, right? It's like not going to be here for like, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But I feel like, it's like eventually it's not going to be part of our collective focus. Um, I do feel like it's going to be over soon. That's
Do
just
you
like,
really?
yeah, like by the spring, summer, it's going to be less of a thing.
I'm all for that. To me, it already is. To me, it already is a lesser of a thing.
Well, yeah, it hasn't been that big of a
It's
thing
never
for me
been a thing.
either. Yeah, yeah,
Don't get
right.
me started on that.
I know. So that Venus, but it was very, I know it's not coming through as much, but it was for me, it was like one of those collapse points of like stuff that I've been working on since 2011. Like whenever I read that article about the Star of Ishtar and how it's this rainbow octagon and rainbow 8-pointed star, I just had one of those like,
Aha
oh, like
moments.
moments of like, cool. So, I like very called to assist people and assist myself with the rainbow light body and activating the rainbow, the cosmic rays. Some, people call them the 8 rays of creation, rainbow rays of creation, whatever you want to call them. So that's what I'm going to be about for the next few months over here at Inner Space.
And what
And
does that what does that translate to? I mean, like starting new things. It sounds like it's action oriented.
yeah, what does it translate to? Well, really working. So you as crystal, we are moving collectively from a carbon-based beings to more of a silicon-based or crystalline-based beings.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's been lots and lots of Metatron, and that where we talked about the James Tiburon and all that, like that Metatron content comes through a lot with this too, and the star body activation. But the rainbow rays of creation really work through activating yourself as a prism or a crystal, and then
Okay.
the chakras. Like a lot of times people associate the earth chakra with red and the water chakra with orange, the solar plexus chakra with yellow, the heart center with green, the throat is the sky blue, bright blue, sixth chakra is indigo, source, the crown is violet, and then the soul star is the white where they're unified all together. So activating the rainbow light body is really like activating yourself as a crystalline being, and like you are the prism that the sunlight comes through, and like your chakra system is really like the filtration, the the light of the sun is so like glorious and all encompassing. It's like it's hard for us on a human capacity to take it all in at once. So it refracts itself into the rainbow. So like I can interface with the red, and red energy has the steadiness and presence and endurance and longevity. The orange energy is more has the like flow and the water and the sensuality and the relationship and the ability to shapeshift and morph. The yellow ray has more of that like solar plexus, solar power, inner sun, that like radiant outward action. The green ray has more of that compassion and heart space, and the lung, it like rules in the physical body, the armpits, heart, chest, breast, hands, like that's touch. And the bright blue is the throat, associated with the throat chakra, and the speaking one's truth, what you hear and speak. That's been super important in the last few years, especially like all that like
Yeah, the alignment of all that
truth
as
and like
opposed to,
so
yeah.
that like that ray would help one like. And so each, and then we'll keep going, the indigo has more of like the eyes, sixth chakra zone, and then the violet is more of like source light, source consciousness, direct. And so when you on one level, activating your rainbow light body is like unifying your chakras into like a rainbow column.
Mm.
Activating one chakra is like getting like each, if someone's newer on the journey, it might just be like opening the chakra, awakening that chakra, allowing that chakra. Like chakras are really, they're like vortexes, they're like portals for the rainbow rays, the solar light to pour through and come into your own physical form. So was that a long answer to your question? Like, what is the rainbow light body? So yes, it's empowering, but it's like activating all the different aspects of your own self. And then, so those are the 8 main, colors, if you will.
Right.
And then the oneness of the white is like the ascension column, or the column that brings them all together. So it's like all different aspects of your soul, or different, chakra. It's really like the chakra is the doorway for that cosmic ray, or that rainbow ray, to pour through from the sun through your field and here to earth at this time.
Far out. So do you think that's something that's occurring, or like the symbol of what's occurring? Like regardless, I mean, in kind of a like inevitable way, or is it just more like this is available for who wants to use it or who wants to connect with it or work with
Probably
it?
the second one.
Mm.
It's there's layers. Like a lot of us have been, if you've been on this path, like working with the chakras is not like a new thing, right? All of
Mm-hmm.
us have been doing that for decades.
Mm.
But there is like this wave of people. I hate the term waking up, but for lack of better term, there's a whole bunch of people that are um, just starting to realize that they're more than just physical form, and that they're this energy being too. So a lot of, it's like to provide for the newly awakened, and again I put that in quotes because that's like, but people that are just like, ooh, maybe I should play with my energy field. Like,
Mm.
so people in that realm of things that are just um, interfacing now with their rainbow light body, it's like a new toy, like new like technology, new tools. And then people that have been doing it for a while are like doing it on a renewed level of it, like
Mm-hmm.
expanding their tool set and like realizing what is capable. And then there's like the call to actually dissolve, unify, and just like, it's like we move beyond the separate rainbow rays. Like, instead of like, you have to work with them individually and get to know them, kind of like letters of the alphabet when you're
Mm-hmm.
learning a new language or new sounds. And then you move into this unified state that it's like you're not so much working with the individual colors. It's like kind of like this whole rainbow being that kind of happens simultaneously, if that
Is
makes
that,
any.
would you associate that with the light body?
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay. And do you, so when you or other people work with the rainbow body or the light body, or let's say the activated light body, maybe that's some way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with it? Do you expand your consciousness. People talk about remote viewing and astral traveling and whatever terms we want to use. But are you able to access it to the point where you can move beyond the space of your physical body? You know, like out the door, across the planet, across the universe, that type of thing.
Ish,
Hmm.
yes, and yeah, but so each, for sure, there are these expanded awareness, like magical, fantastical kind of things that happen with it. But that's really like each different element or each different color helps you wake up one of the clairs, one of the.
Oh,
So
I
it's like
didn't know that.
the red is associated with the sense of smell, right? So like some people can, you know how smell, like a smell of like what your grandma used to cook for you, or like smell
Uh-huh.
of Play-Doh, or smell is like a portal that transports you back in time to a certain
Mm.
place, right? It's like, so smell is and these are for people that are in the yoga background like myself, or that have worked with the Vedas. They're called the Mahabhutas, or the
Mm.
great senses. So there's smell, taste, sight, touch, and speech, or
Hmm.
sound. So smell is associated with the red, taste is the orange. So, but like taste can also, which is interesting too, this whole global thing that's been taking away people's sense of smell and taste.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's another, like, you get a few senses taken away, so your other ones heighten.
Right.
So anyway, but the taste, like taste brings one into, like, called the rasa or the ojas. That's like, that's associated with the orange rainbow body array of creation, and the yellow one is associated with sight, or your eyes.
Mm.
So seeing, being able to see beyond the veil and be able to see light codes. Some people can see auras, or, you know, so each one is associated with like this. I can't, my brain isn't going to recall them all, but someone can write them in. The clairaudience is the one with
Hmm.
throat chakra, or clairsentience, like you just know things. But the heart, the green ray, is associated with like um, touch, or like, you know, that's, I think, when
Feeling.
people healing
Yeah. Yeah. It makes
hands
sense.
come on board. And then the be able to speak, you know, when people open up their, that is like how folks wake up their light language, or wake up their ability to communicate. But you asked if it like brings you into, you know, that ability to morph space time, for
Right.
sure. And then like the indigo one, when you wake up that clair, that's ruled by the indigo light ray, is you know, you wake up your ability to see, or that light quality. And then source is like that direct knowing, like where you just like, things just drop in, right? And you just like know, like, you know, when someone needs you, or like you think of someone and your phone rings and it's them, right? Or
Mm.
you think of a person and they're in need, and you reach out to them. But so the, like, working your rainbow light body is like, you know, like how we work and flex out a muscle. It's like if you're
Hmm.
lifting weights, like then your arms get more buff. If you work with your rainbow rays, then your light body gets more brilliant and comes online more. And there are many different aspects of the light body, and the rainbow light body is like one
Yeah, I've heard
cloak.
that. I've heard that and experienced it a little bit. But isn't there like eight or nine? Or I know there's everyone's going to have a different. There's going
Different
to be
kinds of light body, or different.
yeah, different layers basically, different bodies,
Yeah.
etheric body, light
Mhm.
body. I don't know. I'm probably getting some of them mixed up, but it's almost like the local multidimensionality
Yeah.
that's centered
But the
around the human.
rainbow light body, I feel like, is very accessible
Mm.
to humanity, because like a lot of us have prisms that are hanging in the window, and we see like rainbow. Like the rainbow is like, it's all that, you know, why does Kermit sing about it in the Rainbow Connection on the Muppets? It's like, why do we get so excited when we see a rainbow in the sky? It's like, it awakens that quality in us, that's like the magic, right? And
Mm.
the like, and the, you know, why do bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow? Why, like, it has that, but it's also very accessible, because we see it on a daily basis. Be it like, if from, you know, the eyelashes filter the sun and you can see rainbow things. And then some people use rainbow colored crystals, rainbow colored stones. I use rainbow andaras, like in that quality, like the talismans of something tangible helps, or to draw things, or, unicorns are very associated with the rainbow too. And
Mm.
that, so, I, is it good to say? I had this. This is waxing to a whole different topic. Could I for a sec? I had this
That's fun.
cool. I had
Yeah.
this cool dream the other night.
Yeah.
You know, and coming out of the whatever the underworld, shall I call it? And then when I was like, I watched the. I was like, oh, Venus is emerging, but the dream state. So yesterday, whatever the 16th was, the sun was conjunct Pluto also. So we have like, if we look at the overall thing, there's a bunch of planets that conjunct the sun early in 2022. Then there's a period of like not a lot of conjunctions and not a lot of alignments. And then it kicks back in the summer. But anyway, I had this really intense dream where I was like at this universal, I don't know, like Space Command place, whatever it was. And you know how there's a new telescope that was launched, the Webb
Yeah. Yeah.
telescope, going to replace the Hubble. So it was like either the Hubble or the Webb or both at once. Like I had the commander of where that telescope is pointed, like that option given to me to decide. And I was given one, I had to point it at one cluster or one star or one place in the sky. And I was more like in my dream, I was like, how can I pick just one? You know, like, what am I going to pick? I was so excited at the prospect, but also like a little overwhelmed, you know, in like
Where did you point it? Where'd you point it?
So
Venus?
at Monoceros. Monoceros is the unicorn constellation.
Oh, okay.
So Orion, you know, well, we talk about Orion a lot. And I was like, so Orion right now is kind of like the dominant thing in the evening sky. Orion rises just a little bit after sunset, and it's super visible and beautiful right now for those people that don't have cloud cover like we have here. But when you can see the night, it's like you can see it in the evening. So if Orion's like right here in the sky, Monoceros, the unicorn constellation, is just below it. So Procyon is the kind of the bright star that's near Sirius. So the Orion belt stars, the three of them point down to Sirius. That's not part of the constellation, but
Right.
across from Sirius is Procyon. So the unicorn constellation is called Monoceros, is not that visible. But anyway, I pointed it to this cluster that is the horn of the unicorn, and it's called the Christmas Tree Nebula or the Christmas Tree Cluster.
Okay.
And that, when I first started more actively, like I think I've been talking to stars my whole life.
There's no doubt.
Back in like
about
2017, 2018, when I had my first kind of awakened conversation with a star in the night sky, I was out looking at, looking at stars. I do that a lot. But I had this, and I think this happens for a lot of us. Like I had this patch of the sky kind of come to life and get real sparkly. And like the stars were like moving, and it was like really grabbing my attention. So for folks that are looking to like have conversations with stars, and if you haven't quite done it yet, it's really just, it's not conversations like what Todd and I are having now with like human language. It happens in these like star codes. And sometimes part of the sky, anyway, it was like this shiny, and it was like moving, and it was like really just like pulsing and like calling to like my soul. Cause it's really like our star aspect that's communicating with these stars, like our starlight body. And so it transcends or bypasses the human thought and language quality. And maybe that's like it's one of the upper chakras. So we have to talk about the soul star, but then there's a chakras up and up in the registers. And like, it's like your stellar communication chakra is talking directly to the stars. But when I came in, and this is when I first had started working with the star app that I use all the time. I use Sky, and it was back when I looked at what it was. So at the unicorns, and I didn't even know there was a unicorn constellation. This is back, 2018. I was like, there's a unicorn constellation? How come I'm just finding out about this? But it's not that visible. So it's called Monoceros. And there's the Rosette Nebula is at the unicorn's nose, but there's a smaller star cluster at the horn of the unicorn, and it's called the Christmas Tree Cluster. But I had that like deep, you have that like my soul's from Aldebaran thing. I got this like, oh, my soul, or the aspect of my soul is from this Christmas tree cluster, and it's like when you read about it, you're not supposed to be able to see it with your naked eye. Like I wouldn't. It's not something that like normally you can see in the sky, but it lit up and it showed itself to me, and I could see where it was. And when I went and looked up, I was like, oh, that was
You
just
saw it with your naked eye.
I did,
Wow.
and it was really so. Anyway, that's in my dream. That's what I chose to point the telescope at,
And so what
and
happened when you did?
I woke up.
Oh, you woke up.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So were you on a ship? What do you think? You were on a ship? Or were you
Mm,
were in some type of observatory, or you were on the satellite itself or
I
something?
didn't get a lot of quality. It was more just like
Were you aware of any other beings?
just the telescope operator
Mm,
or the person who was like like it was almost like an observatory or yeah, there wasn't a lot of visuals of like where I was, but it was just more in the like
yeah,
darkness of everything or darkness
yeah.
of space. It was like, where do you want to point the telescope? Anyway, so
Well,
but
that's
I
pretty
have
cool. I've never had, but I guess that's because of your connection with the stars, but I've never had any kind of dream like that. Mine are more earthbound, I
I've
guess.
never had a dream like that either.
Really?
Um, but that and then I was looking and that the the unicorn horn quality it definitely has a lot. So anyway, we were starting to talk about that with the rainbow light body. But if you ask any, I get to play with like a 6-year-old. Well, she's 7 now, but if
Uh-huh.
you play with any like first grade kindergarten beings, it's like all about the rainbows. They talk about the rainbow children or the rainbow. I don't
Yeah,
like to give them class, but it's like
yeah,
that, like those kids that come in, it's like all about the colors and all about coordinating colors and all about unicorn play and like all like it's the unicorns have that they bring a lot of joy and
yeah.
light and effervescence and the ability to like use rainbows as like transport corridors and like there's a lot of
I'm trying to remember because I love Robert Sepper at Atlantean Gardens, but he did a thing, and a lot of times his titles don't kind of they don't really tell you what the bulk of the video production is. But I remember in the last few weeks watching one, so it must be fairly new, where he talked extensively about the unicorn
oh
and
yeah
its role in anthropology,
oh,
which would go back into oral histories and myths and so on. But it was a very big deal, and I can't remember everything, but it has its presence, like I want to say, like in some rituals.
hmm.
It still made its way to these rituals, or symbolically. Like if you look
Yeah.
at the ritual, like for instance, I think it had to do with the Vatican or Christianity, and these rituals, the symbols within it had something to do with the unicorn, and he traced it back. But yeah, so I'm
That's
gonna have to
cool.
go
I'll have
back.
to
I'm gonna
check
have to
that.
go back and pull that one up. But I mean,
Yeah,
there was a
send it.
lot of information about the presence of the unicorn, to include the Bible and some other things. Yeah.
So this I went ran and get
So that is
that's the star of Ishtar or the star of Venus.
that's the star of Venus. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and the colors. That's pretty trippy.
I drew. Yeah, I'm like I've been figuring out like how do you draw an octagon? I figured I got good at that. That one's not as good because it's got colors. But anyway, getting
You're
them like
pretty
even,
good.
folks.
You're pretty good.
That's the star. Thank you. That's the
No,
star of Ishtar, or the star of Inanna, or the star of Venus. But I love how it's like the square. It has a lot of quality to it.
mm.
But the rainbow thing, yeah. So that's cool. I'll have to go check out that thing about the unicorns and
I'll see if I can find it. Somebody just put yes in the maiden unicorn lies with head in maiden's lap. I remember seeing that in there, but it was God. I want to say that it had like there's certainly in the Bible stories. I remember there was some specifics, but he touches on a lot of things beyond the text of the Bible. So it was a very prominent thing. I never, I've always heard of unicorns. I remember when I first woke up and I started making friends on Facebook in 2013. It was probably, And I remember having a conversation with this lady, and it was before I really got into. I hadn't had a lot of interaction, so I hadn't heard a lot of different, uh, viewpoints or experiences. But I remember, what I was familiar with, as a lot of us were, was the resonation and the kindred type of connection that we were having with so many people, because it was very new and very fresh. And I remember her telling me, um, we were just having a conversation. She says, "Yeah, I have a unicorn that comes into my room all the time." And I was already learning to respect everybody's reality, but I remember her telling me about her first experience where she was like, just sitting there, and she looked behind her and there was a unicorn. And then I've also heard, there's some connection between the unicorn and Pegasus.
Right. I was just gonna
Uh,
say.
yeah, and Pegasus has shown itself to me a few times. In fact, we were in New Jersey. I have the video on one of the computers, and Morgan and I were saying in this. It must have been grid work. It was this really weird situation. We went and stayed at this house where the parents had transitioned, and the son had invited us, who was about my age, and the whole house was like a museum. Like somebody had taken a picture from the early 1960s, and nothing had been moved. It was all the old everything, right? But anyway, that night I was, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And in fact, you're showing that, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, these are like
I laid down in the little room we were in. It had two little twin beds, and I'm looking on the ceiling, and I'm looking at uh, Pegasus, unicorn, whatever, on the ceiling in really bright white light. I took pictures of it, and I took a video of it, and I still have it. But
well, that's like like a holographic projection of a unicorn on the ceiling.
I'll pull it up. I think I have it on this computer. But no, I don't. Well, see, and then there was another friend of ours traveling with me and Morgan, and we were actually doing a session driving down the highway because the energy was so high. And one of us said, "Let's do a session right now." And I guess I went in, and it was all Pegasus. So it was 20 summer of 2018. I want to say around that time
That
period.
was, I think that was when I was having
Yeah.
that the
Well,
unicorn.
I
That
posted the pictures, and there was people talking about, uh, Pegasus, the energy of Pegasus, the consciousness of Pegasus, that were, look, Shaz Hargreaves says, Robert Sepper recently did a video about the unicorn and the symbology of the horn and sacred sexuality. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about, but he's actually done more than one, but that one is the
what just
one.
came through as well, you read that, like the
Mhm.
horn. So there's a way that, like, if we talk about masculine and feminine, like the horn projects out, but there's like the octahedron. There's also the horn in, like, the underground part. Like there's like the above, the external part, and then the internal part, kind of like an
Right.
iceberg. Like there's a tip and then the inside. Like an octahedron is the top and then the bottom pyramid. Like the horn quality. Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's the best I can say. It's like this mirror image quality. So in the unicorn constellation, it's near I think Monoceros 15, like one of the stars. It's not super visible, but the Christmas tree cluster,
Uh-huh.
um, to me, had that. I think we all have lots of different stellar aspects. It's not like, oh, I'm just from the Pleiades, or oh, I'm just from here. But this, for me, this like awakening quality of, like, so it's NGC, which is whatever that stands for. 264 is Christmas tree cluster. But to the point where I'm like, I bought myself at my home office, I have a star chart or a star drawing of it, like sort of like this back here, but like a picture. It was like, and the Christmas tree quality, it's like a conical um travel, like pass through, but I had that strong quality of like soul home from
Right.
the place. And we all have those parts of the sky or parts of the galaxy, parts of the universe, like that will resonate more with and are really drawn to work with. I don't know why this is coming through, but the first, when I had my son, who's now almost 13, when
Hmm.
I was pregnant with him, I had it was really like, that was in 2008, 2009, was like a mass awakening, like having him come into my life, come into my body. And I was working with, coach, energy healer, friend. And it's the first time I had like direct communication with like star councils, galactic councils, ascension councils. Like his team that came through was very, very talkative, like, telepathically.
Huh?
But like with hit, like the whole quality, and like I got strong from him, is like that his soul is from Rigel. Rigel's one of the ankle stars of Orion, the blue star.
God, I
And
didn't know
like I
all
didn't quite know what that, just like things just drop in, right? Like
that.
for him it was like his galactic father and galactic mother were like in constant communication with me while I was pregnant with him, and just
Really?
like all this information. And like in this, people in 2008, 2009, I didn't have anyone really. I had a couple people to talk to about this, but it wasn't as like prevalent as it is now in the 2022. But that so I just wanted to bring that through for other people that maybe are having, like, we're, a lot of us are birthing star babies, both physically and energetically.
Talk about that because I'm not sure everybody knows about that, but it's been talked about for quite some time, and I'm amazed at how many women in particular have had experiences like this. There's Alicia Brachet's work. There's like I remember one of the first times was talking to you and Hung, talking
Right.
about birthing triple dragons and so on. But
That's
I've
it.
heard a lot of I've seen a lot of comments and a lot of people talking about it, particularly women.
Well, because it's multi-layered. So there is this quality of like birthing light beings that a
Mm.
lot of us have that like skill set. Um, but this is also the children being born these days. Even you have why can't I remember her name? Like Judith Kessel, and like when you have Doreen, or the anyway, a lot of big sharers talk about this stuff too, about the crystal
Yeah.
kids coming through, or the star children coming through. And like a lot of us moms, like myself, like normal moms, are giving birth to these star children. And like, so for me, how it came through is like I definitely knew that I wanted to have a kid, and my
Right.
husband and I were, planting seeds. And it took like a
Or your
year or
husband was
two.
anyway.
Yeah, he was planting seeds. I was receiving seeds. But
I'm
that, like,
sorry.
during that time, like a few years before he came through, I knew it was going to be a boy,
Your
and
son did.
his
He
name
came.
came through.
Okay.
And so his name's Owen Blue, is
Okay.
his middle name. And it was just like, that's what he's going to be named. And I was like, I was in communication with him and his soul. And then for a while, years before he landed in my womb. And the amount of like information, like star information, that would just come through as part of that was
Right.
just like, in a beautiful way, overwhelming. And like, but it's just like stuff that comes, there's like, oh, his soul's from, I was
So,
longing in that,
so how old
like
is he? How old is he now? I'm just curious.
12 and a half, almost 13.
Now, does he talk or about any of that stuff? Does he ever say anything
So there
crazy?
was a sweet spot between when he was like 7 and 10, where we talked about it all the time.
Mm.
Like when he was 8, like we would talk about it, and he would talk about his what he was doing in dream time. He's like a, you know, galactic master command. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, I was doing this. He talks about this thing that he does, like force pushing negative energy away from the planet. And he was like off, like he's like, oh, I was on Mars tonight. I was working with
What?
this. I was working with it. Like he would talk, we would talk about it all the time. But then as kids do, now he's felt like when he's 11, 10, it's like, it's not so cool to talk to your mom about, when he's like
That's
27, we'll probably talk about it
crazy.
again. But like,
I
when you're
wonder. I
13,
wonder
you
how
don't want
many.
to
If
talk to
you.
your mom about
I
shit.
wonder if you gathered like a dozen mothers. That had. I mean, that would be like a fly on the wall. Like just put a camera.
Yeah, I have, and we've like talked about it. There's a bunch, um, you know, there's a bunch of us that get together and talk about these, the kids, whether they're 3, 4, like it's almost like the younger they are, the more the stuff comes through. Um,
You see.
into a,
You see Pegasus here.
yeah,
Okay, so I don't have the video handy, and the video you can clearly see the distinction. It's not as obvious. Now, this is above my head on a ceiling, probably what, it was a diagonal ceiling in a bedroom, and so it would probably been what, like maybe 6 feet from my, if I put my arm out from the bed, I would have been like maybe
So I
4 feet.
wonder, I'm looking back now at my blog, but I had Pegasus come through. Mine came through in the clouds. I
Yeah.
wonder if it was around the same time. You said this was 2018.
Yeah, this was
I have even
this
I
would have been like, yeah, it would have been the summer because we got married
Yeah,
in
that's when
June.
I was driving, doing a grid work loop, and I was driving, and it was like I have even a thing on my YouTube page. It's called The Return of the Pegasus. I did a activation-y video share, but that's cool. Anyway, I don't know if I can find it while we're live time, but that was I had Pegasus come through. Like these things, there are these. That's what a gateway really is, or like there's gateways are lots of things, but gateways are information streams
Yeah,
that come from off planet,
yeah,
be there from a certain celestial body or a certain part of the universe. And like that act of like gatekeeping, it's like those of us that like really all we're doing is like, not all, but what we're doing is opening the gate so that that information can come through and come
right,
to planet Earth at this time, be it a human child, be it a light being birthed, be it just pure content and information. Um, and there's a lot of us some people use crystals or different things. Like myself, I use the Andaras. Like it's almost like you can see beings, like you see faces come up and through. And I had a unicorn come through my gold piece.
when was
So
this?
when did this happen?
Was it recent or
No,
this
no, like
doesn't matter?
2018,
Oh, I got you. I got you. Okay.
2019. Like the first time I had the first time I used an Andara like this, or I was in my officey yoga, my sacred space at home, and I was on
Right.
my yoga mat doing yoga, doing some things, and I looked up and like you were talking about the Pegasus, like the crystal was like catching a ray of sunlight, and it was like I could go back and find the picture of it and show you the picture. It was a unicorn with the horn with rainbow hair and mane, like activated and came through the Andara and like was in my room. And a lot of us use those, like Andaras are really like portals or gateways that you carry around in your pocket or your purse and
Mm.
like use. That's one way. You don't have to use them.
Hmm.
But there's one way of like these cosmic energies coming through, but just like kind of your like it projected onto the wall. It's like
Yeah.
a holographic
Really?
activation. Andaras do that for me, like on
We
the regular.
must have been like somehow connecting at that point.
Yeah. But I'm saying that these are like like Todd in New Jersey, Julie in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, whatever in Rhode Island, whoever in California,
Poughkeepsie. It was
people all over the
Poughkeepsie.
world get the same, which is why it's so cool that we like compare notes like this, or that why, why Soulogy is so powerful. And like a lot of us hear things on your, in these shares and just in general, like that's what I use Facebook for. People complain about Facebook. I'm like, I heavily curate Facebook. Facebook's a high vibe place for me.
It's
I'm
a
like,
two-way street. I mean,
and it's
you
like
can,
it's
yeah,
like I connect with all the brightest lights and all the
yeah.
amazing people from around the globe. And
If you
but
look
we
for
like
it,
when we compare notes, it's like, oh, the Pegasus are active in
yeah.
July 2018, and like I see it in the clouds, Todd sees it on the ceiling, my buddy Chris sees it in Egypt. Like what it's like, oh, like Pegasus are active in that gateway. Maybe it's a stellar alignment too. Like
I
we take
wonder
it,
if
there's a
I
square
wonder if
Pegasus.
how this works.
You
I just wonder, like, are the like I look at the trees as the elders,
Yeah.
but that's more of an earthy, thing. I wonder if the stars themselves are, those things that, uh, like in the physical sense, created us or where we come from. I know that sounds kind of cliche and all that.
No, that's you speaking my language, Todd. Absolutely.
Yeah, you speak of my language.
Yeah, yeah. Here, oh, I just found the picture. I don't know how if I can share it or if it looks as magnificent. Can I do a screen share? How do I do that?
Yeah, yeah. Just that little TV with the line through it. Click it. You see
TV,
it?
the
The
longitude.
icon? You see that? You see the icons beneath the screen? There's a
Oh, maybe you're
TV.
the host.
There's a oh, only if you're the host. Well, just send it over to me on Messenger.
Oh yeah. All
Yeah, send
right.
it over to me on Messenger.
How fancy. We're gonna get multi-tech over here.
Yeah, I'm working on getting more multi-tech.
Mm,
Final stages of research.
yeah. The Soulogy network is
Oh God, I don't even want to go
okay.
there. But yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Ty Hudnall's
Oh, great.
helping
Well,
us.
you're always working on it, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so in a way. Yeah, send it over to me. Did you send it?
I am working on it.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Okay. Here it
That's
is. Okay. Let me pull it up. Oh wow. What the hell? Oh wow. That's trippy. Hang on. Let me
from.
go back here. Oop. Let me go here and
Oh
go
my God, how
here.
funny! What day is today? This is January 18th, 2018. I took this picture.
What? So there
What day is it?
there's
Today the
no
18th.
doubt.
Today's the 17th. So the unicorns. So this is like there are certain time like parts of the annual cycle where the stars. So right now, Monoceros, the unicorn constellation, rises a little bit after sunset, and it's visible. Um, so it's like these are. This is how we talk about the stars governing energy, or that governing's not quite the right word, but like these gateways opening. So we're in a unicorn gateway, and then you go back and look and like, oh, that happened last January, or this is like how long ago was 2018? It was a while ago, right?
Yeah. It's
Maybe we have to zoom
going
in a
on
little.
4 years.
So there's the horn,
Yeah, yeah. I see it.
and can you see the rainbow? Anyway,
That's a bit trippy, isn't it? Yeah, I see that. I see the right. I actually see.
and I have a bunch of other pictures of that piece. It has tons of rain. It has tons of unicorn action. So unicorns to me have they associate with the gold ray and then the rainbow rays.
Right. Far out.
It's so nice to connect with you, Todd.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Things
So,
going in your 2022? How's your did you
how's
have
it
any
going?
underworld? Did you
Underworld.
get dragged into the underworld like I did?
Mm, uh man, I don't know. I was like at middle of October, uh like around the 10th of October. You know, the 10, 10, 10, 11, 10, 12, and the 20, 21, 22. Everything with the ones and the twos. 11, 11, give or take a day, and then of course a couple of eclipses. I know we talked about this, but I don't know. It was like at the last week of December, there was just like a giant sucking sound, like everything was being squeezed dry, and then it seems like what's today, the 17th. I want to say like until about 4 days ago, it seemed like to be kind of like the aftermath of that period, like the last 3 months of the year, and but over the last 3 or 4 days there's been, to me, a huge dramatic shift, like
Like an expansion and
just like this, yeah, like just a huge, and I could point to so many different things. I mean, I'm watching a prominent person in the community who has absolutely just shown their ass, and it's really interesting because I'm looking at this melodramatic saga, wounded, unconscious stream occurring, which is obviously the result of a traumatic event. No right or wrong, nobody right or wrong, that type of thing. And I'm watching it, and I'm not watching it like from a Jerry Springer mentality, but I'm watching it from how people are responding to it. And it's really interesting because I see two different paths, and we might call it the Great Divide, but it seems really loud right now. And one is those that are attaching to the drama and the story without any type of verification or anything, which is showing me the wounded aspects. And I'm not trying to say the non wounded or the wounded are separate or different, one
Well,
superior,
the
not
pain body speaks to the pain body, and like
exactly. So
you're
you
talking.
can see this this conglomeration of energy that is old energy that's I just use Todd's terms, it's full of shit. Okay, like we need to get over this kind of thing. And then you have this other one, which I guess this all ties back into the beginning of the show, and it's this presence, this expansion of presence that I would say is Venus-esque, Ishtar-esque, feminine, though it's showing itself in masculine incarnated form as well as feminine incarnated form. And it's really this separation that I'm seeing. And I'm going, wow, this is wild. But I can also see where, like, people of that have a lot of influence energetically. And I'm just kind of like using the communities as an example, how one person on that, let's say on that side of it, could convert and will convert so many people when they start to own their shit. I don't know. To me, it just seemed like a very human, like playing in the ethers and the woo woo and getting lost in what you channel and who you down or what you download and what you transmit. Having that be the driver is not working. Like the spiritual bypassing. The deconstruction of the patriarchal aspects of the guru, of the yogi. I mean, all of these things are changing, and it's just really interesting to see the in the flesh, not just in this example, but in many examples. It's really interesting to see the deconstruction of the living archetypes that we all came from, that we've all discovered, and that we've all transformed, that we're in the process of transforming. What was once seen as a power becoming powerless, and seeing this soft, silent, many times private energy, man or woman, that is displaying these Venus-esque feminine qualities that have been suppressed. And it's such a soft, incredible, strong power, like either saying nothing or very little and letting the energy speak. So this has been a dynamic that I've seen and talked about with others, particularly over the last few days, and it's been fascinating.
Hmm.
It's like nobody can miss a step, no stone is unturned. And I go and I was going back to this the last couple of days, and when I went on the street and spent those 2 years, when I woke up, and I might have told you this before, but there was a seminal moment about, I want to say about maybe 6 months into this spirit walk, and I remember exactly where it happened, uh, because I was walking and I was distraught, and my family was gone, and I was homeless, and all the shit, right? The fights and the jail and the this and the that, and like so many of us, I was having a communion, a constant conversation, whether I wanted to or not, with those aspects of the you, me, we, and it. And there was a point where I was really showing my ass, in so many ways. And at least from my perspective, people know, oh, you did this and you got busted for that, and all this stuff. But there was a point where the voice came in and said, look, you need to understand something. Everything you've ever done will be known by every single person. And I was like, oh my God. But the flip side of that was, you know, that everything any of us have ever done will be known by every person. And I think that's the energy of where we're heading, if not the actual literal experience that we're headed to. Like full blown uh, access or awareness of every single thing. So, in other words, everybody's, everybody's brought down to the same point. So that's where I'm at. I know that was kind of but this is my first show of the week and I'm still half asleep. But it's always good to start with you.
It's like really finding that neutral it's like it is a quiet place. So the call it 0 point or call it neutral place. It's like that, like nothing. It's the calm quiet. There's nothing to
Yes,
say. There's
that's
nothing to
right.
do. It's beingness, and
Right.
nothing sticks. Nothing like there's no hooks or. And then when you notice you're out of that place, um, there's you could feel like a pull or a push or like
Yeah.
a stick or a barb, and then it's like wait,
Right.
how do I like clear that out of my energy field? So maybe that cycles back to, what is the rainbow light body? Like there's a lot of techniques and activations and things that one can use. Like one of them is imagining that you have this like stacked 7 orbs of color, and like you can pull out like, oh, I have something like in the back of my heart. Like you can pull out the green orb from your heart space and like clear it off and get it spinning out in front of you, like little, like meditation-y or like light body techniques. There's a lot of those things that it's like keeping your own mind, heart, core, energy field, physical body free of free and flowing and
Right.
activated.
Right.
That's the thing. Because then you're in your own, it's like I call it like my happy bubble. Like things are good and clear and
Well, and we have that, whatever method we use, but what I'm getting at is it's like, we talked about the great divide for a long time, and everybody can say, "Oh, I'm on this side and I'm on that side," but it's not about that. First of all, who controls the narrative? We're talking about an energy, the one you're talking about right now, this silence, this fewer words. There's no narrative trying to be controlled. It is what it is. But the patriarchal is built upon uh, telling a story and dropping suggestive programming. Let's put it that way. So that obviously is going to be duplicated because that's what the environment we grew up in. But so what I'm saying is that to me, one of the really loud things is who's trying to control the narrative and who's letting the energy speak. If someone or something is trying to control the narrative and tell the story, it puts up a red flag for me now. And I'm not so much talking about individuals. I'm just talking about patterns. Take the personal out of it. But yeah, what who are they trying to convince? Me or themselves? You know what I mean? So it's like the truth is really coming out, and what I'm noticing is that it's that soft, private, dignified integrity. It's a power that we've seen it in flashes, but I think we're really starting to see it, and I think we're going to see it in a huge way.
yeah. I don't know what came through as you were saying all that is
Hmm.
did you end up going to Texas? Or
Not
did you
yet.
say no?
Haven't gone anywhere.
That yeah, that like central channel of North America. It's we had a earthquake on the in the at the Mid Atlantic Ridge in the beginning, sometime early January, and then of course the giant volcano that went off in the Pacific. It's like that whole you talk about the bifurcation and the eclipse corridor time that we're in.
Hmm.
That like um, it's
Yeah,
like the
that.
separation, but also the merger,
Yeah.
like the Atlantis quality and the Lemurian quality, like that bringing that the masculine, the feminine, the soft, the active, the this or that. Like that's one could call that the Mars and Venus qualities too. And so the next, so if we go back to the star thing, so Venus and Mars. So Mars is now a morning star. It's like not visible in the night sky. It's visible pre-dawn. And Mars is rising a little bit earlier than Venus. Venus is now visible again. So you talked about like the last 4 days or so. Venus was visible again in the morning, like that in that same time that you talk about the clearing. And I felt it too, like that whole like, like we like the resurrection codes are being renewed or rebirth,
Hmm.
a that death and rebirth cycle happening. So
Somebody
with
was on.
Venus,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
So the Venus and Mars, pretty soon. I'll have to go look up which day, but they're going to rise together on
Venus
the
and Mars. Well,
on the horizon.
that ought to be
It's
stabilizing.
the end. I think it's like January
Well,
30th
somebody
with the
was on
crescent
here.
moon too.
Yeah, somebody was on here. I think it was Yvonnya a few days ago, and she was talking about the white knuckle, like holding on, white knuckling. I don't know if it was her, but it was somebody last week, and that's what I kind of see. Like this. Let's say we just use Venus as an example. So, like the prevalent energies coming in to be accessible and available and useful, uh, and either you know because of our expanded awareness, we begin to attempt to first of all we look beyond just the the physical human limited let's just say spectrum. And so we start to look at, say, a Venus or another celestial body or a Pegasus or whatever. And that starts to open up a whole new experience and also an expansion of our skills, abilities, and sensitivities. Or we don't engage it, or we acknowledge it from a very superficial standpoint, and don't really walk the talk. Like there's something going on if you're to me anyway, that if you are going to engage these greater aspects of ourselves and bring them into the human experience, because not to be confused with spiritually bypassing and getting lost in the woo woo and not paying attention to the human aspect, because that's not working. And then the other alternative is it's almost like a deniability or an ignoring of what's available and what our greater um, you know um, attributes are, to include those things we think are apart from us that are actually not. Like these connections, like I learned today with the chakra to the senses. I didn't know that. I didn't know that my taste buds are connected to my sacral. I better stop there. That could get kind of adultish. So anyway, I'm going to have
Yeah.
to run because it looks like we've had a mix up on the schedule, and instead of 3 shows today, it looks like we're going to do 5. So I'm going to
Five.
have to really
Wow.
get my. I haven't done 5 in a long time, but
All right. Well,
I love you. Best to you and your family. I'll see you when I see you late next month, probably. And thank you for always coming on and sharing so openly. And I'm really excited. It's 144 people in the house, so I think that
that's a
says it
great. That
all.
number's been coming through a lot for
Well,
me. And
to me,
then
that says it all right there.
so this whole the Mars and Venus thing is
Mhm.
like the next conjunction is February 12th. So let's talk before, well, whatever. We don't have to talk before that, but
Right on.
it's like we'll be in cahoots, and then another one March 12th.
Okay. Cool.
Good
All right.
time. Thanks
You take care.
everybody.
Love you. I'll see you. Let me
When I see
see.
you,
Yeah. I'll see you soon. I'm surprised Hung didn't show up. She must be.
she's
She
got
must
some.
be.
She's managing some stuff over there in her
I
house.
didn't see any sarcastic remarks, only from Bruce. Okay. We'll see y'all. Bye bye.